Hey, you guys, this is Kevin with G.F.E, God, Family, and Everything Else podcast. So, today I have a very special guest that I'm going to be interviewing, and the topic that we're going to be covering is being a father and how to be a godly father in the family. So, stay tuned and check out the interview. Let me know what you think. Leave a comment below, but also hit that subscribe button so we can go ahead and get more interviews like this because I'd really love to hear what other people have to think in their perspective of being a good father or a godly father in the home. So enjoy the video.
Oh, so where do I start? I guess not too much is new. Just kind of going to work and living life. And KK had her birthday, her sixth birthday, not too long ago.
6 years old. That's crazy.
Yeah, yeah. Can't believe how fast they grow up.
Yeah.
I got them into video games. I gave them a
Nice.
little for them, so I had to leave them. I was like, all right, you guys are on your own. And I ran away.
What
I
kind
just
of
had to
video
play with
games?
them. It's just Little Big Planet. I don't know if you know that, but it's like a kid game. You're like sock puppets, and you're running around this little world with them.
A little bit. No, I don't know that. Oh, sounds like they're coming.
Yeah.
It's all good though. That's why this is called GFE family and everything else. So it's all good.
Yeah. They
Um,
they might make guest appearances unannounced. I am in their playroom.
no, it's all good because the moment I put the camera and the lights on here, Noah's like, "Camera, I'm coming." So,
Looking good, buddy. Oh, you can't hear me.
no, because I did something to my computer. It's really weird. I I was messing around with it, and I don't know how to reverse it. But if I take the headphones out and I speak, it creates an echo and a loud pinging noise.
Oh yeah, I know. Bing, bing, bing.
Yeah, so in order to stop that, I have to plug the headphones in, and I'm like sitting there trying to figure out how what did I do? Like whatever. Here. All right. Okay. All right. You good?
Yeah, watch the noggin.
uh, no. There you go. You good? Yeah. All right.
Nice.
Um.
Looking good, buddy.
Yeah, he turned 6 next month.
Oh yeah?
Yep. So
Dang, so he's close in age to KK. And Connor.
yeah.
Connor's the cousin.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, he's 26 in May.
Oh, man. Wow. Man. How old is I forgot? How old is your oldest?
Whoa.
7.
7. Wow. That
Yeah.
that close.
Yeah, they're the first two were really close. We had them like back to back. I think they're like is it 15 months?
Wow. Yo, that's crazy.
Yeah, 15 months. 15 months apart.
Ooh. Yeah, we had Kai, and then we were like we were thinking, yeah, let's wait a little bit, and then when it hit closer to about 5 years, then we're like, yeah, let's try for a little for Kai to have a little brother because we were sitting around, we see Kai playing kind of like by himself all the time, and we're like, he needs a sibling.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the one good thing is like they're always playing with each other. So I'm just when they get when they annoy me, I'm just like go play with yourselves.
Yeah.
And it starts out good, but then all of a sudden you hear that.
Yep. Yep. I always try like for some reason, not for some reason, but for me, it's like I don't know, maybe it's being a dad or just being having a sibling myself, but I can see that at the beginning you're like, oh, it's cute, and then you know it's gonna lead to someone crying, and so I always put a stop to it. Like with Kai and Noah when they start wrestling, I'm always like, "Hey, you guys need to stop." And then they look at me like, "We were just playing." And I'm like, "You guys don't see what I see happen. It never fails. It never fails. I always put a stop to it." And they're probably always thinking, mostly
Overthinking
Kai. He's
you.
probably like, "Dad's a buzzkill," but I always see, and I don't want to hear any crying. Like what was it yesterday? uh we were sitting on the watching TV, and I was watching a movie, and it wasn't something that kids usually should watch. And then I told Kai and Noah, I was like, guys, cover your eyes. And then I then Noah did, and then I think Kai was doing it too, but I think Noah wasn't satisfied with the way that Kai was doing it. And so next thing you know, I hear ow. I look over and I'm like, what happened? And then Kai claims that Noah punched him in the eye. because because he was like, he wasn't covering his eyes. Noah wasn't satisfied with the way he was supposed to do it. And so Noah was like, no, do what dad says. And so I just was like, okay, you know what? I'm just gonna stop this movie. But yeah, Noah's more the violent, aren't you?
Yeah.
But yeah, but no, yeah. With this, what I want to do is because I kind of would like to get a lot of the dads like thoughts and perspectives and stuff like that, because everybody has a different type of a way they're bringing up their children. But I wanted to kind of just hear what other people think, and especially from you, uh, since you're pretty much like a brother, more than a friend. So, uh, and just hear what you have to think about, and just share openly. No worries, no pressure or anything like that. Because obviously we're all still trying to learn. There's really no manual to this,
Right.
and I feel like I can definitely learn from what you have to say. Because there's some things that I sit in the morning and I pray about, trying to ask like God to, you know, to provide me knowledge and to definitely guide me in the way that He wants me to raise my boys. Because I know I fail all the time. I mean, let's be honest. I lose my temper at times. I shout at times. I mean, what dad doesn't, to be honest? And if there is a dad out there that doesn't, that means he's lying to himself, in my opinion. um, but are there things that you wish you did differently now than before?
As far as fatherhood,
Yeah.
um, I mean, I wouldn't say that there'd be anything different I do. I mean, there's definitely lessons that I've learned, and you know, you kind of just you have to learn from those, and so you take all those instances and try to learn from them and be a better person. But I mean, with my three kids, it's all three of them have been different. So, one thing will work differently or work with one kid, but then the other one is not going to be the same. My KK is super emotional, so just she hints or there's a hint that she's in trouble, and she starts getting all teary-eyed, and you can see she's going to start bawling. So so when you discipline her, it's got to be a lot more loving and caring. Elena, no, I don't know if she's just gotten used to me, but like I'll just be like, and go off, or she'll be like, crazy dad. Unless she's like in real trouble, then it must be something different that I express, because they know when I'm like really upset, or if I'm just like being play upset. I
Ah,
guess
yeah. They can read you.
yeah, they can, because Alina, she'll like blow me off most of the time, because most of the time I'm just like, what are you doing? Get the dishes up. And she's like, okay, and she'll do it, but she won't take it seriously or take me seriously.
Yeah.
But then like when she like gets in real trouble, like she knows, and I'm like, I guess I say it different because I'm not really yelling at her at that point. I'm just like, what? This isn't appropriate.
Right.
And like I'll get serious on her. I think they've learned that like my yell voice is more my semi-serious voice. So listen to what I'm saying, but really don't take my actions seriously because I am the goofy dad. I like to be goofy and play with them and joke around with them. I try to be, anyways.
Right. See, I I remember because maybe I don't know. Growing up, I had a lot of. I felt like I was goofy, and I thought that I that would lead into me being a dad, do the same thing. But I noticed, which I'm trying to get better at, but I noticed that I'm a lot more serious with my boys than I want to be. Um, I try to be that like playful dad, but then there's a lot of times where I'm just like kind of irritated, and I they feel like sometimes like whenever they like what we'll say for instance like whenever Kai makes a joke, and usually something that I would laugh at, this is my face. And, but inside I'm like I know he's being silly, but part of me is like and
Yeah.
I'm like, really, Kai, like think about what you just said. But then I'm thinking, trying to like, okay, when I was a kid, I used to do stuff like that, and that's hard for me. That I wish I did differently is because I'm like, hey, I was a goofball growing up with my kids. I always made my mom laugh, and with little silly things. And I think it's just with Kai is that I'm like, you should know better, but I know you're trying to be funny. Why can't I? So why can't I just laugh at some of your jokes when I know that they're silly and and there's really nothing, there's no harm to it. But I don't know. I guess just my problem is that I have such high expectations for Kai, and I'm trying to make him grow a little bit too quickly. I don't know.
Yeah.
I want him to be a kid at the same time, but then at the same time, I want him to be a older brother to his little brother. And my problem is I set the bar so high for Kai that I need to just recognize he's still 11.
Yeah.
And so that's one thing that I'm trying to work on, because I know at some times that I'm trying to teach him and but I know inside that he feels like dad's too serious sometimes.
Nah.
But and then when it's Noah and Noah makes a joke, I'm like, oh, he's 5, he's cute. Kai. But which I like, it kind of goes like what you said, that you can't treat each of your children the same. You have to treat them differently. And
Yeah.
but you don't show favoritism. It's just you have to react differently to, because each of them have their own different types of personalities.
Right.
And I know with Kai, he's a little bit more sensitive, but then he's also very I'm gonna say like, so he's more sensitive, but then he doesn't really understand the seriousness sometimes whenever I try to teach him, and so it kind of rubs me the wrong way. To be honest, I'm like, I've been trying to teach you as a dad. Like, I'm not trying to teach you to go down the wrong way. I'm not trying to teach you bad things. I'm trying to instill in you, responsibility. You're 11. You're about to go to middle school, and this is something that I want you to have in you at an early age. And what I'm witnessing, I just don't see it. You're talking, but there's no action, and I just want you to, get better, because I see that in you. You just don't see it in yourself for some reason,
Yeah.
and I'm trying to help you. And then when I with Noah, I don't know, maybe it's as a second child. Noah is more observant, so he sees what I'm saying, and then so he does things a lot differently, and he takes on more responsibility for himself than his older brother. So I'm like, Kai, it can't be this way. It should be the other way around. But
Yeah, no, I definitely noticed that, like, especially with KK, like, she learns things by watching, especially watching her older sisters. She'll sit there and just watch what she does, and then she'll go and do it. So she'll learn from her mistakes.
yeah,
And then at the same time, I'm like, there's so many things I want to instill them and and get them to understand, because they are growing up so fast, and like, oh, am I just spending all my time playing with them and not teaching them how to be an adult, and but am I pushing being an adult too much?
Yeah.
I get
Yeah.
worried. Like, they're kids, but then also I want them to be able to know, like, stranger danger, not
Yeah.
always.
Yep.
So it's definitely you gotta. It's a learning experience even for us, as parents. Like,
Yeah.
yeah. That's why I had more than one because I know I'm gonna screw up the first one. Hopefully, the third one I'll have it down.
Third time's the charm. So, yeah, your first team, like, man, they have messed up. Third one, you know it.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
too much bleach in that water.
As he takes a sip. But um, yeah, I think there's a lot of things that I think that all as dads that we can all definitely learn from as we progress. But I I think what would you say, like, in your opinion, is being a dad today harder than you think it was for your dad?
That's a good question. Um, yeah, yeah, I feel like it probably is because when my dad or when our dads were raising us, it was you know I think it was a lot more lax back then, and you didn't have to worry about so many things.
Hmm.
Um, in ways, it was easier, but at the same sense, it's easier now. I mean, than it was back then. Like, getting information on the internet is so much easier now. It's like, oh, well, what's this? You could just look it up real quick, and oh, it's nothing. It's something. Oh, this behavior is really worrying me. Oh, no, it's normal for kids. But back then it was just they kind of had to guess and hope you're right. But then also there wasn't as much studies and
Hmm.
research on like mental behavior and all that, and now all these mental behaviors coming up, and now with Carrie being in the field she's in, she's really involved with like teen studies and depression and kids and how that's affecting them and how it's skyrocketing now. It's like, oh, that's something we have to worry about now. So
You're not lying.
back back then it was just you know they did what they did, and all they had to really worry about was their standards. And
Yep.
but now it's everything's social and
Yeah.
so plugged in that it's hard to kind of not take that into account or consideration, and compare yourself to what everyone else is doing. So
Yeah, I agree. Um, I like to blame. I mean, I honestly blame social media. Um,
mhm.
because, like you said, everyone's comparing themselves to everyone, and then now that they have such easy access to it, they may see somebody or something that they like, and then they're like, why can't I be like that? Or they push themselves so hard to be like that, when rather than they should just understand that, be the best you that you can be. And like that is something like my dad would always teach us, and none of all that stuff was even available at that time. So he was always just telling us, education is key. uh don't worry about what everybody else is doing. Worry about what you can do and what you can control. Stop comparing yourself. You have gifts that can definitely change and help other people, and then also help yourself. But um and you know it with my dad, when raising us, he was always like, go outside and play. He didn't have to worry about us just always sitting there looking at social media. But there, I want to say that nowadays there's more negative connotations than there are than positive, especially about what is a lot of it being. Oh, I'm going in a circle.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, no worries. Yeah, I mean, just to sum it up, yeah, I think it's harder for us dads now because we have to manage so much. Yeah, I'm still talking. Huh? Why? Hold on. Let me. All right. What was I saying? Yeah, I think it's a lot harder nowadays because there's so much things that we need to manage and make sure and monitor than what our kids are doing than before what we were doing, like you and I and stuff when we were growing up. I mean, I remember always going playing in the fields, going always staying outside. Nowadays, especially if you see, I don't know how it is, I can't remember in the US, but here you would see kids in the park and you're like, oh, they're in the park, they're playing. And you look closer, they're either on their phone or they're playing on the Switch. And I'm like, you guys went outside just to play video games, not to actually experience life. And then,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, in the same sense, like, yeah, it is harder because with the whole social media thing, like, it's not so much an issue now with my kids, but eventually, when they start getting into that preteen teen stage, like, they are going to start getting involved in the whole social media and getting on there and wanting the likes and posting things.
Yep.
And the problem, like, it wasn't an issue for us back then, like, but I'm sure, like, some of the things I would have said or posted probably would have gotten me in trouble now. So
Oh,
I'm like,
yeah.
whatever they say, like, they need to be very cautious of how it's going to affect them in the future. Because nowadays it's like, oh, something came up like 10 years ago that you no longer believe, or now you realize it's stupid, but 10 years ago, and then all of a sudden now you're having to pay consequences for it. Now people are getting canceled or not getting the jobs they want because now it's a thing now that, like, even like companies, major corporations are like, you need to give us your Facebook access and access to all your social media so we can check it. It's like, what? Since when
Yeah.
is that a thing?
Yeah. Yeah, he changed. I no, I agree. Like, I mean, yeah, things that you did in the past definitely can haunt you now,
Yeah.
and
Oh yeah.
it's to me, I find it ridiculous, um, because they are trying to. I mean, they come across as like they never made a mistake or they never said anything harmful or hurtful before. And then now today's society is just so sensitive no matter what you say. Like, I was watching the other day where a news anchor, she got fired because she said for shizzle my nizzle in the past. And she exactly. And she's a white lady, but then so many people were in an uproar because of that. And I'm like, for not I bet 99% she probably doesn't even know what that means. But still,
Yeah.
but still, she didn't mean it in a negative sense.
Yeah.
And but yet you want to be you want to be canceled for that. And then so that's like when and I think whenever our kids are witnessing things like that, like it's affecting them psychologically. I really believe so. Um
Oh yeah.
so yeah, I definitely think it is harder now because you want to instill such great values in your children, but the world is telling you the opposite and telling you, no, this is how you should be looking at society, or this is how you should be looking at life now. When I feel like, no, that's not the way that it should be. Like, yes, always love, respect, and care for other people. I get that, but just because you have your set of, and I want to say biblical values, you're looked as someone as being hateful. Yeah, he's enjoying. you want you want to show him what you're. So this is his special toast. I don't know if you can see it.
Oh yeah. Oh.
So
Onion sprinkles.
it's
Good.
It's butter,
Sprinkles.
butter and sprinkles.
Oh, oh, that sounds like exactly what my girls would like.
Games, right? But uh, next thing I want to ask is just kind of a little bit more of fun. And I know there's many. I mean, as
Oh,
dads, we record a lot of this mentally and stuff. But what would you say is like the three happiest moments you've had with your kids?
Happiest moments? Oh man,
I
that's
know there's so many, and it's like you don't want to just like be like these are the only three. You're like no, there's
yeah,
but
right.
three that you can remember.
Um, I think, I mean, I'm gonna, I'm gonna narrow it down to like instances. So one I could say is when my children started calling me dad for the first time, or daddy, or
why
when they
is
said that
oh,
name, and they recognized, and that they fully understood what they were saying, and they said dad, dad, and they looked at me and like dad, dad, and that was probably one of them. Uh, Another is when they come to me for comfort, and knowing that running to me,
hey, Papa?
and even over mommy, as selfish as that sounds, but you know
Hey,
that they
Papa.
chose to come to me and go, daddy, and when they're looking for comfort and they came to me for that, and that it's usually like a sad thing, but it makes me feel good that they trust me, and that their life is in my hands and that they choose to come to me for that. And then the third, I'm gonna say when they were born, that
Yep.
was
Yep.
that was it. That I couldn't. There's no other time where I only cried when my first one was born, but the feeling was it was so crazy when I saw her finally come out, and I was just like, oh my
Boss.
gosh, I
No.
lost it. But the feeling was still the same for all three of them. When they finally came out and they were there, and it's just so much. I don't know what to call it, adrenaline
Yeah, it's
running
definitely something
through
that
your body, and you're just like, oh my gosh, I'm a father. And obviously, with the first one, it was probably the strongest. Is my excuse, because and then the second one came, and it was like, okay, I'm already a father, so
but
kind of
yeah,
what
it's
it's like. But
still a special
each
moment.
one was, yeah, it was super special. Yeah, and that's probably something I'll remember, is just them being born every single time. I can remember just holding Carrie, and then them coming, and then I'm a father again, and just this the obligation that just all of a sudden like waved over me, like I was sleeping like a baby before she was born, and then as soon as she was born, it was like, oh, where are they going, or what are they doing? They're taking her somewhere. No, we're just waiting her. Oh, okay. I'll stand right here then. Make sure you're putting that diaper on too rough. Oh.
Wait,
And
hold on.
it was it was amazing. It was an amazing feeling, kind of having that.
Man, yeah, you're not lying. Number one is when they were born for me as well. When Kai came, uh, he wasn't born. He was born through a cesarean
Yeah.
because he has that big head, and but no, he just was in a compromised position. So they had given us an option, like if they want to do the suction or do they want to cut him out, and but they were saying like there could be complications if they sucked him out, and I'm like, yeah, I'm not trying to hurt, you know. So Ayana was all like, yeah, let's just go ahead and have him cut out. And then when we wheeled down to the operating room, um, like I was sitting there next to Ayano, and when they cut him out, and I could see the reflection through the doctor's glasses because I could only sit near her head, and I couldn't watch the entire thing. I probably would have passed out to be honest, but
Yeah,
um,
me too.
but when they cut Kai out, and I could see the reflection when he came out, that it was like an overwhelming feeling that came upon me, and it's like hard to describe, but it's just kind of like wow, this is real. Like
Yeah.
before, I lived my life, no kids, no responsibilities, and now I have someone that I am given the opportunity to raise the right way and build him up and then teach him in the ways of being a man and then just taking care of him, like you said. And like I didn't. It was weird. Like I didn't cry, but it was just like I wanted to. Well, they're playing. They're playing.
They're eating
Um,
actually.
and and then but since he was exposed for such a long time, he had to go straight to the nursery, and so I don't didn't get to see him for I think 24 about 24 hours. And so but I had the opportunity to go back to the room and back and forth to watch and stuff like that. And what another happy moment for me is when Kai was still a baby, whatever, whatnot. But like whenever the nurse would touch him, like he like kind of like don't touch me. And then whenever I did it, he was comfortable. It was like he knew, like I was his dad. Like whenever it was just crazy. He was just they're born, not even in the word for over 3 hours or whatever. But the nurse would touch his back, and then he kind of like, and then I'm like, ooh, let me touch to see what he does, and then he just was comfortable, like no movement or jerk away or anything like that. And I was like, oh, he knows I'm his dad. So
Are you speaking to him any, or is it just a touch?
it was just a touch at first, and then they asked me if I wanted to feed him and stuff because they said he was hungry. But at first, well, not feed him, but first they asked me if I wanted to wash his hair. So I would held him and then I washed his hair, and he was comfortable and just kind of like, this feels good. And I'm like, I'm washing my son's hair, and but yeah, it one actually 1 second that made me cry just to know that I'm like wow, I have two boys. And
No, three boys
Yeah.
though. It's a boy.
no, oh, well, yeah, there's three boys in the family. Yeah, that made mom cry. So, but, uh yeah, so I say those like those two moments when Kai was born, when Noah was born, and the third is together, is when just like you said, they the same thing with you when they come for you for comfort. And uh whatever, I remember when I was at the gym, and then I don't know, had sent me a video where Kai was, I think he was 1 or 2 years old, and I was at the gym, and it was of Kai, and he was wondering where I was in the morning. And mom's all like, "Oh, Papa's at the gym," and then Kai just start like crying. He's like, "Papa, like, come home, come home." And she sent me that while I was in the middle of my workout, and I'm like, man. But it made me happy, and I was like, okay, well, tell Kai I'm on my way. And then the same thing with Noah. He does that too. Whenever he doesn't like me taking him to school because he misses me right away, but whenever his mom takes him, he's like, bye. But so I know I'm being a little selfish, but it just made me feel good because like Noah's like, can when you leave, when you take me to school, can you just disappear right away? Because I don't want to see you go. I'm like,
Yeah.
yeah, I will. So it's kind of like walking him up to the fence, and then I push him off with my foot, and then I'm like, bye. And so like whenever he sees me, it makes him sad. Whenever he sees me when he has to leave, it makes him sad. Like he had to go on a field trip, and I waved to him from the bus, And then according to the teacher, he was crying all the time, like saying "Papa, Papa," and
Yeah.
so I was all like, he never does that with me. I'm like,
The
I don't
steampunk.
know. But yeah, those are like some times that you just treasure and you're just thankful for. They're more than it's more valuable than like any other materials. Like just having the love of your children, like
Oh yeah.
it it's something that you treasure and you never want, and you realize that it's gonna stick with you forever. And I wouldn't want anything else. Like to be honest, perfectly honest, like there's nothing that can replace that.
Oh yeah. Yeah. This one of the things, you know, being a father is that I feel what's the word I'm looking for? Empathy. I feel strong empathy for those who don't have children. Like
Mm-hmm.
like that you guys are missing out on the purpose of life for me. Like before it was just, yeah, I'm living, I'm doing my own thing, I'm happy, but now that my children are born, like I have a purpose. Like I know what I'm supposed to be doing. I'm supposed to be taking care of these children, raising them right, and having that family. And
Mm-hmm.
and so when I have, when I see people are like, okay, I don't really want kids. It's like, what?
Why? Why?
Yeah, like you this, and it's one of those things you can't explain to anyone. I've heard that so many times, but I never knew the real meaning of being a father until I was a father. And it always makes me think of all those, those comedians who talk about it like, oh, I didn't know what love was until I had my kids. Like I would tell my wife, like, oh yeah, I love you, but then my kids came, I was like, what? Who are you? It's like, and it's true. It's like it's a whole different level of love and joy, and my empathy for people who don't have children it's even stronger for especially people who can't have children of their own,
Mm-hmm.
or
Mm-hmm.
just can't have children and they never do. And like I'm just I'm so sorrowful for them, and I don't wish that on anyone because it is the greatest feeling in the world to be a father, to have a family. Like, and for me, at least for me, like I knew, like I that was like my thing. Like people would always, ask, "Oh, what's your dream? What do you want to do?" And whatever it was I was doing, I wanted a family. That was my dream in life. That to have my wife and my kids, and to have that family. And now that I have them, it's beyond rewarding for me, and it's the best thing in the world, and it's what I live for.
I I I mean I couldn't have said it any better to be honest. Like because I sit there and like you said, you have empathy for the ones that sit there and they say, it's just my husband and I. We always just love traveling, and, having children. That will put a stop to it. I'm like, I mean, I get there's some people that are not meant to have children, but but just the fact that you thinking only about yourself on just the memories that you create for yourself. I'm like, no, what about the memories you can create for your little ones? You know, um,
Yeah.
because they treasure that, and just be your just having that experience. Me, I just find it's really rewarding just seeing my boys when if they're excited whenever we go on family trips, no matter even if it's like just like a day trip or a few days or whatever. And then you ask them like, what did you enjoy the most? They don't say anything like material things or anything like that, or just little things that we always take for granted. Like I always ask Noah and Kai, and I'm like, "What was your favorite part?" And they're like, "Oh my gosh, the fact that we could stay in the hotel together, that was so much fun." I'm like, "What about like the good food and all that stuff?" They're like, "Yeah, but just the fact that we were on this trip and then the water was so blue and the sand was awesome and it was just so much fun." And I'm like, "Wow, yeah." and I mean, if they can remember things like that, I feel like, well, maybe we're doing a good job. Uh,
Yeah.
and but yeah, I remember I was talking to my friend Nate, and he would always say like, "Man, I'm glad I don't have kids." And he's like, I asked him, I'm like, "Why not?" And he was like, "Well, uh, I I just won't be able to have the freedom to do whatever I want." And I'm like, I understand. I mean, not everyone that is meant to have children, so no problem. But the moment you do have children and you do take on that responsibility, it's not as bad as they try to make it seem.
Oh
And
yeah.
I wouldn't even say it's bad at all. It's a learning experience for us. It's a teaching moment for us, and just to be able to share the knowledge that you have and put it on your children, that's rewarding in of itself. Like, hey, I'm given the responsibility to bring them up the way that they should be brought up. And then when you see that what you're teaching is actually sticking and it works,
Yeah.
then
Yeah.
you're like, but yeah,
I,
I wouldn't want anything else. I remember, of course, when we were kids, whenever we were all like, "What do you want in life? What's your dream?" "Oh, I'll be a millionaire. I want $1 million and all that." But when you
right.
get older and you're like, "That's not important. That's not." My dream is for my boys to be brought up, number one, in the Lord, have that foundation, to love, respect, and care for other people, and being the best versions of themselves, not being like others. Don't sit there and compare yourself to others, you know, uh, and just be able to share that with them and let them and then teach them and bring them up that way. There's nothing else that I want. I feel like I'm already rich, and I don't want to make it sound all cliche, like I'm rich because I have family, but no, it's true. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
like there's no amount of money in my account where I'm like I'm not happy. No, I'm happy because of my family. I'm happy. Yeah, they stress me out at times, but who doesn't?
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
it doesn't
Absolutely.
it doesn't make me want to be like, oh man, why am I a dad? I'm like, no, no. I'm thankful to be a dad, and I thank God every single
For
day
sure.
that He
Like,
has blessed me the opportunity to be a father.
right. Right. It's awesome. It really is just the best thing. And you know, I need breaks sometimes because they drive me up a wall, and they definitely challenge my patience. And
Yeah,
but I mean, I want to go through that. Like I want to feel that stress. I want to have those gray hairs because I'm staying up and have sleepless nights because I'm worried about them and I'm taking care of them because you know that's what it's for. And now I'm working to get money so that I can give them things, and that's awesome. Seeing their face light up whenever we go and do things, and it makes me feel good. Like, yeah, they give you a different perspective on life for sure, because we lose that innocence growing up, and then you get to relive all of that through
mm-hmm,
them.
mm-hmm.
And then when we're having dinners, and I get they get to do the prayers for dinners, and they love doing that and they enjoy it, and that makes me feel good, and they're getting so much better with their prayers. And my oldest now, she's like, "Oh, I want to do it. Thank you. Thank you for all the things we need, like the food and water, and in
Wow,
our family, and thank you for giving things we want, and like toys and everything, but especially for mom and dad and our family." It's like, oh, nice, good.
wow. See,
That's
they
great. Like, yes,
understand.
yeah, I'm getting through to them at points, and then we always do what's the best and worst, for dinner time for conversation, and we'll go through and everyone says what the best and worst of the day.
Oh
And
wow,
yeah, it's really good, especially just to keep conversation going, but then also you get to hear about the day. But and always is the thing is having family dinner is number one, of course, because we love having family dinner. So and it makes me feel good that they like doing things and going out places. And like you said, it's what they remember the most is having fun with the family. And like, yeah, there's other things that are fun, but like, oh, that was so much fun. When can we do stuff together again?
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
so, yeah, well, one of the best parts of being a parent was creating traditions in our family
Yes.
and doing things
Yes.
with the kids.
Yep.
And like, oh, every fall now we go on a fall hike one day, and we'll go up and look at the leaves, and the kids love it, we love it. And what kind of special traditions do you have for like Christmas? And, I know we have like little things that we've started doing, and like we do the elf on the shelf, and then decorating the tree. Of course, it's to get the top ones, it's got to be daddy's put us on the shoulder so we can get the top of the
Oh
tree
wow, that's
decorated.
cool.
So
That,
and that's that's the richness you get from having kids, and that's what makes me feel fulfilled.
exactly. And I mean, yeah, I I couldn't agree more. When you have things like that to look back on, and it's just like, wow,
Yeah,
I mean, look at how far we've come along, and look at all the memories we've been able to create. There's nothing more valuable than that. And yeah, just those traditions. Like we back in the States, we used to always have Pizza Friday, Pizza Movie Friday, and
yeah,
now a tradition. We still do that today, and then now we also every before I'll say when the summer is almost over, we always go on a family trip, and that's always a thing for us. And we always go to pretty much the same location. It's this beach that's a few hours away, but they enjoy it. They enjoyed it a lot. This past time they enjoyed it, but then they also said like we went to another beach before that. It was a smaller, a little bit closer, and they were like, "Can we go back to that other beach? Because that one was fun and the hotel was great, just so much bigger." And I'm like, I I Anna was like, "Yeah, well, let's do that." But it's just the fact that we have a tradition every year before summer ends and before school starts. We always take a family trip for either a day or 2 days. Um, but yeah, I
yeah,
think tradition is something important for us to do because it can be carried on, and
right.
and but it's kind of like I kind of wanted to go back to what you were saying, where you're thankful that you would be able to provide for your family, and that actually comes up in First Timothy in the Bible, where uh, how important it is for that God wants mostly the fathers to provide for their family. And it just says, but those who won't care for their relatives, especially those in their own household, have denied the true faith. Such people are worse than unbelievers. So when I read that, I'm like, that's for God. As a father, as a godly father, it's important for us to take care of our family, to provide for our family, to love our family. It's not always just a paycheck. It's it's an emotional connection as well. You have to it's providing love. Let them know that you love them. Doing things with them, creating memories for them, um,
Yeah,
because it can go a long way.
yeah,
But
yeah, exactly.
yeah, um, what I wanted to share with you, like, actually, I wanted to ask you your opinion. How important do you think it is to have God in the center of your family?
Super important. It's huge. It's I think that's like one of the things that's wrong with at least with American society, is that I feel like a lot of society nowadays is getting away from the importance of a religion and following God. Um, God's where we gain our moral compass. It's gaining the knowledge of what's right and wrong, and
Hmm.
you know it makes you humble. It makes you lead a good life. I just, you know, not to say that, if you don't believe in God, that you're a bad person or anything, because, you still, you could still do good things, and the difference between right and wrong. But I mean, at least for me, like, what it was is I wasn't really deep in my faith and in religion when the kids were babies, when they first came, 1 and 2. And as they got older, just dealing with things and finding strength became harder and harder to do. So
Mm.
for me, I, really started getting more involved with the church. And, we started going back to church regularly, and things just got easier. Things became better.
Hmm.
Um, we got the kids involved with church. They started going to Sunday school, and, when they went to daycare, it was a Christian-based daycare. So, when we weren't teaching them the difference between right and wrong, and what good to do, they would go to their schools, and then they would come home and they would like, this is what we learned. God's great. God provides, and everything's gonna be good. And so things got better when I put more faith in God and put more things in His hands. Like, my life just improved. and and there's been so many instances where, you know problems would arise and I wouldn't have the answer, being, a father or first time father, and not ever coming across these situations, being go to church, and for some reason, the sermons always speak to me. And I've always heard people say that, where, they go and they're like, oh yeah, that sermon was just for me because I'm having that problem, and they spoke to me. And like, yes, so many people say, I've heard that so many times. And it can't be that it's just me that they're speaking to. God's speaking to all of us, and He guides us. And having God in your life and that faith makes things easier.
Hmm.
Putting your faith and putting everything in His hands, and accepting that you're not perfect and you're going to mess things up, but you'll be forgiven. And passing that knowledge on to your children makes being a father easier. And it helps bind your family together. Having a good relationship with God and Jesus helps improve the relationships in your life. And that was something that was missing. And when I went back to church and embraced God, like, my things just improved for me. And it touches every aspect of your life. And for me, like I said earlier, like, being a father and having a family is the most important thing to me. So having that improve was huge. So
Yeah.
it's huge. It's probably one of the most important things to me, is having God the center of our life.
Yeah. um, no, that's true. I mean, and that is something that I strive for every single day too, is to make sure that God is in the center of this family, because you see a lot of what's going on in society today, and even in the past generations, when you when you leave God out and you feel like you want to take control of things, it may seem fine in the beginning, but it's just going to lead you down to a path of destruction, honestly. And I mean, there's facts and there's truth behind that. And He doesn't force Himself into your family or into your life. He wants us to invite Him. Uh, and once we do, and your life is never going to be perfect, even when you keep God at the center of it. We're always going to have trials, tribulations. We're always going to have things that's just going to, challenge us. But when we, like you said, when we have our faith and our trust in God, which He keeps continually tells us, like, trust me. It may seem murky right now, it may seem like a storm right now, but if you just keep your eyes on me, I can get you and your family through this problem. Uh, I will make you stronger, because one thing that people don't understand, that is like faith strengthens our relationship with God. Strengthens our trust in God. It may seem troubling, and but God does provide a way out, and things get better when we do that, instead of always falling into the flesh and trying to go to these secular options. Um, then just saying, you know what, God, this is in your hands. I trust you. Please guide our family. And it could be like, we're like focus on family. You can have issues either with like your wife or your husband or your children, but if you continue and then keep God and that foundation, things will get better. It will take time, but things will get better, and that's something that's very important for me. I know growing up in my family, like my mom was very strong in her faith, and my dad, he believed, but he was more so like kind of more focused on business, and so we weren't really that type of family where we had God at the center. Um, and but now that God has blessed me with this family, that is something that I want to continue pursuing, and then instilling in this family, is that God is the reason for everything. You look around, all this is because of God. It's not because of me, it's not because of mom. God has provided all of us the things that we're wearing, that we're eating, that I mean, place of shelter. We It's important that we give it back to him and show him that we are thankful for him continuously working in our life. And so, whatever challenges that we may face as a family, know that God is in control, and trust in Him through the process. And so, I try to explain that to Kai, and then Noah. Of course, he's still young, but it's good to start young so he knows when he's growing up. And I feel like that was the same for me whenever I was 5. Whenever we went to church, I remember my brother and my sister, Carl and Teresa, would always tease me and be like, "Oh, he's the godly brother." but and I didn't quite understand who God was, but I just felt like there was someone much more powerful than me that was responsible for all of this. And yes, I didn't follow and live the life that he wanted, but the older I've become, your eyes start to open, your ears are more observant to, and you're just more observant and aware of what's going on around you, like such the spiritual battle that's going on.
Yeah.
And this is where God's like, hey, this is I love the family. I created the family. I want you to strengthen the family. So whenever, because this world is very powerful, and if you don't keep me at the center, it will defeat you. And so that's and I ask, like I said, every morning I pray and ask God, like, please provide the Holy Spirit to guide me in the ways that I should be going, because I think it's important that my boys know your word, study your word, because this world can tell and twist God's word, and then God make it mean something that it's not meant to be. And I see that in society all the time, about when they're talking about BLM, Black Lives Matter, and they're all like, what about that one sheep that went away and Jesus went after that sheep? That shows that Black Lives Matter. I'm like, no, you are completely misunderstanding what that means. What it means is that God loves us so much that he will go after us, but we have to be willing to come to him, you know. And uh so just whenever I see stuff like that, when they're trying to fit it into their narrative, that's why I always try to teach my boys, like, no, this is what God is, and this is who he is. Don't listen to what the world is. This is his word. He is giving us instructions. So be Bible, basic instructions before leaving earth, like I always like to say. But yeah.
Yeah. That's
Uh,
good.
uh, but yeah, no, I think it's extremely important that we keep God in the center of everything, and that's why, again, why I think it's important that we live our life, God, family, and then everything else will take care of itself as long as we keep it in that perspective. Like, God's the
Yeah.
first, family, and whatever else is the issue, God will take care of it.
Oh
So,
yeah.
um, but yeah, no, I just wanted to kind of touch base on with you and get your thoughts on this because I think it's good, and I have some other people that I was going to talk to as well as that are dads and get their thoughts on. But I first wanted to start with you because you're, like I said, like a true brother, more than a friend to me, and so it means a lot that you had taken this time, man.
Oh
So
yeah.
um, again, I would like to continue kind of doing this and just talk and touch base on different topics. Uh,
Oh yeah. For
uh,
sure. I'd love to.
and it can be anything. Like honestly, we can talk about sports. And, and yeah, anything. Because uh, more family, more about God. Honestly, it can just whatever the topic is at hand. I'd like to stay connected. So
Yeah. Yeah. So do I. You've done good job of keeping me straight, and of course we've both got families, so I know how busy we get. So
well,
it,
I just learned from you about what you were talking about at the dinner table with your kids. I'm gonna start trying that.
yeah, yeah, it's a good little practice we do, and yeah, I encourage anyone to do that. It's definitely a highlight of my days.
No, it's cool. I think it's great. I mean, you learn about what your children like or what they don't like or what they're just hear about how their day was. The
Right.
more you learn about your kids, I think that connection grows.
Yeah. Yeah, and like I said, they give you a different perspective when they're saying, "Hey, this was bad,"
Yeah,
and then you get to know, like, all right, this is what they're learning. This is what's important to them. So it's definitely a way to connect, and it makes it so much easier.
yeah,
I mean, just to have that foundation and that continuous learning experience there.
yep.
It's great.
All right, man. Well, I'll let you go. It's what 10:22 here in the morning, and it's rainy, so it's pretty much just gonna be a lazy day for us.
Nice. I love rainy days.
Oh, I hate it. I hate it. I lived in Seattle way too long
Oh
for it.
yeah.
So
Yep, I get that.
yeah. But please tell Carrie I said hello, and then your little ones I said hi as well, even though I met them only once. But
Oh yeah, no, absolutely.
but
Will do. And you tell your boys I said hi.
I
It was
will.
good to see you.
Yeah, you too, man.
Good to
Love you.
see Noah there on there.
All right, love you,
Right,
man.
man. I love you. Take care.
Too.